Los Angeles is a city built on ambition. People come here from all over the world chasing opportunity, but only a few figure out how to turn that opportunity into something real. My guest today is Tahmina Q, founder of The Brand Agents, a boutique creative and branding agency that has worked on campaigns and branding activations for major clients. Like myself, Tahmina is originally from Toronto. And like many people who leave home chasing something bigger, she realized that sometimes you have to step into a new market to truly see what you're capable of. In this conversation, we talk about the realities of chasing the LA dream, the fear of leaving your city, the patience required when life and immigration delay your plans, and the hustle it takes to build something from scratch in a place like Los Angeles. Today, she's bringing that same mindset to LA through her growing event series, Espresso Events, connecting creatives and entrepreneurs across the city. If you enjoy this conversation, please remember to drop a like, comment, and subscribe to our channel. Tahmina, thank you for coming into the studio, sitting down with me today. You and I have a cool relationship because we're both Toronto kids. And we actually first connected in Toronto, but we didn't meet until we were here in LA.
I was literally thinking about that as I was coming in. I'm like, did we meet over here for the first time or Toronto? But it was here. Crazy.
We met in person for the first time here. But I think, I've been following what you've been doing for a while with the brand agents. And I love what you've been able to do with the transition from coming to Toronto to LA. I feel like for a lot of us who are coming from different markets, from different cities, part of coming to a new market in a new city is like finding your voice, finding your rhythm in a new place. But before we even get into that, I want to ask you, like, what was the reasoning behind coming to LA for you?
I would say, you know what, I have always recognized that there was a little bit of a gap back at home when it came to the industry that was really dominant over there. You know, for the most part, Toronto is just full of culture and life, and I love it. I'm a ride or die for Toronto, but it felt like it came to a point where I needed to expand in order to kind of like really see my full potential and what I can do. And it's hard to deny, the media and entertainment industry in LA and how huge it is,
Yeah, the industry here, everybody knows it's like a mecca for entertainment. A lot of careers are made here. A lot of dreams are shattered here. It is one of those cities where it's like a make or break city. I was talking to a couple of people who are actually Canadian, who have come out here and unfortunately haven't found success.
Yeah.
They've had to go back home and they've gone back to what they were doing in Toronto before coming to LA. I think for anybody who takes the plunge of coming to a new market, a new city, that's always like on the back burner as a fear. Like, oh, what if I can't make it in this city? And I have to go back home. How do you navigate that fear?
I think the fear is still there, and I don't ever want to make it sound like I don't have those doubts on some days, but I think I'm just all in at this point, So I'm going to kind of give it its full capacity and space to see what it is. And I have this new rule in life where I push fear to later. Like I push the stress of tomorrow to tomorrow. So I just attack today full force for what it is. And I think it wasn't a premature move. I think that was a very important part of my journey. I was actually supposed to make this move right before the pandemic. Literally the week that the borders shut down, I was supposed to fly out here and try to find a place and try to figure it out. And then life happened, obviously the pandemic, everything got shut down. And I'm just so thankful in hindsight because it would have been a way premature move. All of the experience and the skill sets and things that happened during the pandemic and in my career allowed me to actually have a smoother transition now.
Right. I mean, sometimes it's all about the timing.
Yeah.
Right. I also, just like you, I had put my application in for permanent residency and all that stuff prior to the pandemic. And I think my situation is a little different than yours, but because of the pandemic, the immigration process just slowed down.
Of course.
So getting, all my paperwork in order, just everything was delayed. I think in total, I waited about 5 years to get everything processed properly.
That's crazy.
So mine has been on hiatus for a long time. And also you can imagine you're trying to plan ahead to be in a city,
yeah,
but you don't know when exactly you're going to be able to be there.
I can't even tell you the stress of even last year.
Right.
of me just like last year, I was here every single month of the year. And you know, as Canadians, we're restricted. We can only spend 6 months outside of Canada in the US without a visa.
Right.
So I was there trying to clock if I'm running out of time and like spreading it across every single month, like doing a week at a time, 2 weeks at a time, trying to build relationships so I can set the stones for when I eventually move. But I didn't even know how that's gonna work.
Right. I feel you. I'm also very happy to have you here on a side note, because a lot of what I'm doing here today was inspired by a conversation that we had. And I think, like I said, when I came to LA, there was, for me, it was a busy year, right? Like I had a baby and the immigration process, getting set up here, getting this space in the studio.
Of course, it's beautiful space.
Thank you. But I came in here initially coming in with the mentality of keeping alive what I was already doing in Toronto. And it felt right when you and I had a conversation, you being, the head of the brand agents, right? Where I'm like, okay, like, let me talk to Tahmina. Let me see what Tahmina has to say. And you gave me some advice that really resonated with me around branding, rebranding, taking a new approach. And I think prior to Grayscale, I wasn't quite sure what that element was going to look like. And I think that for you, this is what you do for a living. You help people with their branding. You help people make these kinds of decisions. So first, I want to say thank you, because I think our conversation really helped inform what I'm doing here today.
You don't even have to thank me. You were already on that right path, but I'm just happy to play a small role in your decision, you know?
Of course. And honestly, I think you helped me more than you know. In that moment, I was just in a point where I'm like, man, I don't really know how to reposition what I'm doing. But I feel like myself, there's a lot of people who are in a position where they're thinking about rebranding, relaunching. Mm-hmm. And it could be for different reasons. It could be for a move. It could just be because their business feels stagnant. It could be for lots of reasons.
Yeah.
How do you approach when you're working with a client specifically on a rebrand?
I think thank you for that. I really appreciate that. I'm so proud of you. I think this is so epic what you're doing. Like the studio, I don't know if everyone has like a full grasp of what this looks like, but it's such a beautiful space and it's so unique and it has so much character. So congratulations on this.
Thank you so much, Tahmina.
Secondly, that's such a good question. I would say one thing that's kind of like the foundation of what's been working with myself and my clients is that I really approach things in a personal way and I talk about personal development. It's the type of person that it takes to be equipped to do the things that you're looking to do, versus me talking about algorithms and things that are trending and what to do with the social media strategy. Obviously, those things play a role, but I think when it comes to even reinventing yourself, right? You have been in the game for so long. At what point do you look back and yes, the formula has been working for a long time, but are you still excited about it? And sometimes we need to take the same idea and reinvent it. And especially with yourself, you kind of took the same format that you did in Toronto, but it needed a new name to ignite what it could be. And that could actually branch new ideas. So I introduce that quite often with my clients. I ask them what they're passionate about. I ask them about their past projects. I try to figure out where we can connect the dots and now create that same sort of format, but in a new perspective. Right. And that's what a lot of the times I feel like people need. They just need someone else to confirm that their new perspective or their new vision is good.
Right.
And so that's a lot of the conversations. The consulting is a lot of confirmations.
Right. I know you have a whole variety of different clientele, and I know some of them you can't speak on, NDAs and things of that nature. And some you probably can. And people who see you on Instagram see some of the things that you do, but it's only partial. They're only able to see parts of it. Within the scope of what you can share, can you tell me a little bit about some of like the success stories you've had with helping somebody rebrand or like helping launch a brand?
Yeah, I would say, so there was a bidding war that was going on amongst, this is like maybe like 6 years ago or 7 years ago now, but this was really special because Jaguar, the car, Jaguar Canada, at that time, there was a bidding war amongst agencies to approach their brand activation to bring their I-Pace electric car, and it was associated with F1 Formula.
Oh, that's a big campaign.
Yeah. And so I was actually very pleasantly surprised that out of all of the agencies, and there was big dogs in there, it was my boutique agency that got chosen. So I was the one that did the strategy, the rollout at a private business social club called 27 in Toronto. So that was really special because I had full creative direction, and it was the first time where I was put in a position where I knew that I could mold it to the way that I want and have the full creative control over it.
That's amazing to land that kind of client. I've also done, campaigns with clients like that, and I know the intricacies of how challenging it is dealing with those brands. Even like when you look at their brand guidelines, sometimes it's like, you can't do this kind of project, you can't present their logo in this kind of way. So it's like a lot of navigating through like brand guidelines. So I think that is amazing for like a boutique agency, like the brand agents, right? So I think that's dope.
Actually, the same thing happened in recent years with ESPN. Same situation. I did a back to school strategy for an athlete that I was working with. Same situation, that there was a few people involved, but then they chose my creative output on it, my agency, because it was women owned, it was women operated, it was a boutique agency that actually cared, and it created the same sort of results that the bigger agencies were. And I see that there's definitely a preference point post-pandemic where a lot of these bigger companies are more inclined to boutique agencies. And so me inserting myself in there and actually getting chosen, it felt good.
Yeah, of course, I can imagine. Yeah, for sure. I want to talk about the brand agents and like your hustle. So like you even bringing the brand agents to LA. I know there's a certain like Toronto hustle, East Coast hustle that we have, Can you speak on that? Like, how has Toronto, being from Toronto, being raised in Toronto, how has that informed your approach here in LA or internationally when you leave Toronto? Like, what part of Toronto do you bring with you?
Do you have an hour to talk? Because I am such a product of my environment. I always have been, and I'm such a product of Toronto. We are hustlers, and I think a lot of it is because of the seasons. We know that we have limited time where it's nice out, we can activate everything, and then there's gonna come a time where we have to suit up and deal with seasonal depression. We have to deal with, the patio season being shut down if we're in the event space. There's going to be snowstorms. There's so much struggle in the cold weather and the cold seasons. And I think there's something beautiful about it because we really are warriors in that sense. We gear up for those times. And so, how that's converted into a space like LA where it's sunny all around. I have this urgency where and I'm sure you do too, where we're like, let's get to it yesterday.
Right.
And so I feel like I've been able to move a lot faster than maybe someone else that might be a little bit more not slower, but more strategic in the way that they're looking to plot and create their blueprint and be very detailed out. Versus me, I think I have a little bit more urgency of time where I'm like, let me just get it done and figure it out along the way. And I think that's a lot of our East Coast hustle.
That very well said. I agree with that because a lot of the New Yorkers and Toronto people that I meet out here, they get shit done. It is like, because it's exactly like you said, we're used to operating on a cycle of seasons where things start and then end. End. And here, if you grew up in LA, there isn't necessarily like a time where you need to stop. You can or start, but like you just have a prolonged time to keep doing something as long or as little as you want.
Right. And I feel like LA is just so rich with resources, right? It's just like when you have all of these things available to you all the time, maybe you get immune to it, like you're just used to it. Right. Versus in Toronto, you can't walk around and see the Netflix building, Capitol Records building. This is all down the street from us over here. And so I think a lot of the people that come from the East Coast, New York, Toronto culture, we are hustlers, but we lack resources in a lot of these cities, sometimes in certain industries.
That's true. Yeah.
And so when it's rich over here, we're just like, let me have it all.
That's a good point. I want to jump into what you're doing with Espresso Events. So Espresso Events is kind of like it's your latest venture. You're running it through the brand agents.
Yes.
But I was blown away because we first connected, I think, before you even did the first event. And I saw from the first event, at the time that we're recording this, you're about to do your fourth, your fourth, right? And I'm like, I came out to the second one, I think, and I was like, how did Tahmina get all these people in here? I'm like, no, seriously, I was blown away. I'm like,
there's parts of the night where I look around and I'm like, where did you guys come from?
It's incredible. But also, like, I want to, for people who are watching, for people who want to learn, like, how do you how do you do that? Honestly, like
Yeah.
I'm bigging you up, but I'm also like, I want to know, like, how do I pull in like all these hundreds of people into an event? How do you do that?
Okay, so it's an interesting story. Thank you, and I appreciate you coming. And I'm
Of
so happy you
course.
got to actually like see it on the ground. It's a very interesting space to be in. I felt like with the brand agents, sometimes in the branding world or just in general, I feel like it's when I offer so much services, it's hard to digest to whoever I'm speaking to. So when I was on my flight here from Toronto, moving here, I was like, this is the first time I'm going to treat myself like a client. And so I need a project that's going to display what I know how to do with brand agents versus coming out here blindsided and saying, hey guys, I'm brand agents. This is what I do, websites, campaigns, things like that. It's too much to pitch in a small amount of time. And so I'm like, okay, let me create a project. So I came up with Espresso, and it's interesting that it's the first time I ever came up with a brand name that has no meaning. It's developed its meaning over time, and I can share that, but I just like coffee. And so I said, I want to hold this event where I can actually show different levels of brand activations that I know how to do. To run an event, you need to have email marketing in place. You have to have graphic designs and flyers in place. You have to have a website, hopefully down the line, that really showcases full force what it is that you're looking to do long term and collect that community. The VIP attendance, the way that you illustrate every little element to make an event come true has all of the brand activations that my brand agency already serviced clients.
Right.
And so I did that, but the way I was able to do it is all those NDAs, all those projects that I wasn't allowed to share that I was a part of under my agency, I still had those clients. And it was the first time I was able to actually say, this is my actual network. So it was a lot of the people that I worked with in the past. They're part of my network, they're part of my world. I've been in the media industry for 13 years, even though I just recently moved out here. I've been back and forth for 2 years, so I built a lot of relationships. And then the word started to get around because I actually stayed true to what my vision was. And that kind of really, again, showcases that when you stay true to the brand vision, it will be successful. And so the industry only aspect of it, we're literally saying no to people that are not in the industry. They can't get into the event. That started to get around LA. Hollywood is a very small place. We are saying you have to dress elevated, and you're getting denied at the door if you don't dress like that, So it's all of these elements that are coming true, the networks, the brand activations, staying true to the actual, dialogue of what we're looking to push. So I think those are the moving parts that makes Espresso what it is so far.
Honestly, it's a great initiative. And like, even just if you go on Tahmina's page and you look at it, there's like celebrities shouting you out and like celebrities that have attended. And I'm just like, this is really dope. Like to see someone who is from the same city that I'm from, be able to come to a very dominant city that's not for the faint of heart. It's not easy to make it in LA.
Say that again.
Right? There's a lot of hustle, a lot of struggle that goes into it, but to see you be able to draw a lot of these, like you said, VIPs, people of interest, and just bring them together in a place where it's like mutually beneficial for everybody that's there, because it's like a networking thing, but it's elevated beyond networking because it's like building relationships. And I think that also is challenging to do in LA. Finding your tribe, everybody here. It's like if for people who are familiar with LA, it's a great place to come and build, but finding authenticity in the relationships is hard. Like outside of this interview, me and you are cool. Like you text and I believe in you, you believe in me.
Yes.
But you are one of few in LA that I do this with, right?
Yeah.
Like I have my select tribe of people that I build with.
Yeah.
But I think that select tribe is what a lot of people who come to LA struggle with. Is like, how do I build with people like on an authentic level?
Yeah.
And I think that the events that you're doing, this is where you find these people. This is where you could come and connect.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I think what you just said, it just hit a note for me mentally, because I think the most important part of this journey as well too is it's the first time I'm literally documenting my process. So I started making stories and reels about me moving to LA. And so that brought a little bit of traction. It was the first time I ever announced that I was on a project, and I actually prematurely announced that I signed a contract with a hotel where I host a lot of these Espresso events. It was the first time I ever announced anything like that. That video started to go around LA, where that brought a lot of traction as well too. So there was a kind of like a personal insert for people to be like, oh, this is like somebody believing in the LA dream. When people say LA is dead or it's hard or it's negative, it's kind of like pro LA now. It's pro community, it's pro the LA dream and going after what you want. So I think the tribe I've been attracting out here is based off of people being personally invested into my story and actually finding relatability, and then coming to the events to find out if it's true what I'm saying online.
Of course. People want to see if it's facts or
exactly,
cap, right?
But that works in my favor. And then in that space, I'm seeing the same people come out to my events now. And I'm like, you're good people because you are aligned with what I'm looking to do over here. I have this toast at my events where I talk about, you know, this, how hard this is. I'm not shy about it. It's the first time I'm actually being vulnerable online. So I think just being authentic to yourself is attracting those people that are also struggling and not looking to look perfect over here.
Yeah, I've noticed, you know, I follow your posts online, and I think you're doing a great job of documenting the process, right? And I think that, I'm not sure if that was something you were doing as often in Toronto. I think that's something that you've adapted since moving out to LA. But I think that process in itself is really engaging because you're showcasing like how you're building something from the ground up.
Exactly.
And I think that's what people are hungry to see is like, how do you do it?
Exactly.
Like, how do you actually build it from the ground up, right?
Well, you know, we've come to the space on social media where we just see a perfect grid. Obviously, you're never going to take pictures of yourself when you're crying, you know, for the most part, hopefully. And so it's anti what we've been used to. And I think it's getting back to a place where we are really rewarding vulnerability and being authentic. I didn't have this big strategy of like, now I'm going to move to LA and document my life. I literally did it for future me. I just want to be able to reflect back for myself and be like, oh yeah, that was cool that you bet on yourself. You know, I'm 32 years old. A lot of people, you know, in the 30s and 40s and up, you know, a lot of the times they feel like their dreams have died and they just have to accept reality for what it is. So there's different layers to the story. And I really wanted people to know, and for myself to be able to reflect back, but also share to those people that can relate to it, that you can believe in your childhood dreams and reignite it. And so that was the part of me that really wanted to push just the personal aspect of it. It's the first time I'm actually okay with sharing things online. And it's because it's for a bigger cause. Right.
It's dope. I love what you're doing. And I think that is the new world that we're in, even with streaming. And people just want to see more of people's, and it's been like this for a while, but now it's just, that's just what it is. Like, I find that even celebrities are starting to lose their cachet because being a celebrity is cool, but being a streamer where you could see them all the time and what they're doing all the time is starting to engage even the younger generations, where they're like, well, I could just turn on YouTube or Twitch and watch somebody that I think is interesting all the time, versus like, you know, I love Brad Pitt movies, but I don't know what Brad Pitt is doing at this moment, right? So there is this like hunger to still be connected consistently, constantly, all the time.
Well, we also live in a generation where we're the cable cutters, right? So what is reality TV? It's actually people's reality that we're watching right now as TV shows. We're looking at people's Instagram stories and we're looking at their day-to-day lives and we see the buildup happening, you know? So it's a very interesting space to be in. I think naturally as humans, it's almost like innate in us to want to keep up with other people's lives because we're tribal. We're tribal beings. We want to have a sense of community. Even though you live in a high-rise building over here and I live in a condo all the way on the other side of the world, the city, there's an element where I want to stay in touch with you without having to stay in touch with you.
For sure. I want to talk about this idea of, this is the way that I refer to it, as being a minority inside of a minority. Especially for us now, because I'm from El Salvador. My family immigrated to Canada. So we were immigrants. Then now I've come to the US. So I'm an immigrant again, right?
Yes.
I've immigrated again. So I'm a minority inside of a minority almost, right? And I think for you, it's the same thing. Like you're from Pakistani descent.
Yes.
In Canada. Then you've come here. And I think that when you start looking at that, there is a lot of culture that we carry with us, right? It's like I carry my Salvadorian background with me, but then I also bring my Canadian Scarborough with me to LA. So there's a lot. How do you carry your culture with you as you move through LA, as you move through life?
What a beautiful question. I think that's so cool. I was just thinking about it the other day. I was talking to my mom. Out of 10 siblings, my mom is the only one out of her 10 siblings in Pakistan till this day to ever migrate outside of Pakistan. And she's the one that first generation in Canada. So she's the first generation to speak fluent English. Now we are her children, 3 of us, and I'm the first one out of the 3 kids to ever move to the US. So I can relate to you. I think I carry that culture by embedding it into my everyday of how I move. I don't adjust to my environment in the sense of molding to fit in. In LA, there's obviously going to be a different culture. I'm sure
Right.
New York has its different culture. I don't try to go in and blend with everybody else. I carry my culture with pride. So the fact that I am, bilingual, I am open to speaking to people in the Urdu language when I do come across them, rarely over here, but when I do, it's nice to have that relatability and share that. Being able to be a little bit more of a dynamic person, us being Canadians, there's just going to be a different way that we maneuver. I think we're very humble in a lot of ways. I think we're known to be kind in a lot of ways, and friendly and apologetic.
Right.
I think the way that alone, how it bleeds over here, it strengthens my work relationships. It strengthens my relationships in general because they might assume that you're going to act one way or have your guard up because you're new to the country or whatever it is. But for the most part, we're going to have our guard down. We're going to be soft-spoken or whatever it is because of our background, because we are multifaceted. Being an immigrant, exactly what you just said, allows me to realize that my mom came to a new country with 3 children and she figured things out. Yeah, I think just the way that I move in general, it's how I receive information, how I go about my working relationships, my personal relationships, just in the day-to-day, it's fully, deeply embedded into how I show up in this world, I would say.
Right. Yeah, I think as Canadians, we definitely bring a different aura and energy to the US. So I'm with you on that. I also, every time I tell someone I'm from Toronto or I'm Canadian, they're like, "Oh, you guys are so friendly." And I'm like, we can be. We can be.
Right now, yes.
We can also be sharks,
yes.
Right? We could also come in and dominate and hustle. But on that note, I actually want to speak to you. We've had great conversations leading up to even this about being a woman in the industry, about being a woman trying to build an empire, and how women are. I'll give you a good example. I just recently went to watch this great conversation put together by my boy Nick Borelli. But on the panel, there was a woman, and she was speaking about when you get to the point where you're labeled as being challenging to work with or difficult to work with. And I think that in many cases is a double standard, right? If a man, is very opinionated, it's just taken as like, oh, he's very authoritative. He knows what he wants. And in some cases in our industry, if a woman is vocal, she unfortunately gets labeled as like, oh, she's challenging to work with, right?
Yeah.
I think there's that. I also think there's elements of, I had another great conversation with my friend Jenna Redkey, who came in, and she talked about, she's a DJ, and she talked about trying to balance this fine line of, she's like, sometimes I still want to be sexy and I'm a DJ, but I don't want to be over sexualized and being treated as if I'm like an object. And I'm like, these are all things that women, as a guy, I don't have to think about. Like, I want to be sexy today, but then, oh, there's all these girls hitting on me, or like I'm only getting these opportunities for these kind of reasons, or I'm speaking my mind, and now people think I'm too challenging to work with. Like, I feel like women in our industry have a lot of hoops to jump through to be successful, unfortunately, right? Can you speak on how you navigate this? Because I think you're doing a good job of building here in a city that's already challenging to deal with, but that hasn't taken away those constraints,
if
right?
anything, it's gone worse because, there's like a very strong culture within every single industry over here, and it's very what it is, So if it's entertainment, it's unapologetic. So for sure, it would be ignorant to deny that isn't a challenge. I have natural resistance towards talking about it sometimes because I'm just like, well, I can handle it, But then I think about that and I expand on that thought, and I'm just like, I shouldn't have to handle it. That shouldn't have to be a scenario day to day, but it is something that we have to handle as women. I think I've been able to maneuver through it by having strong boundaries and healthy detachment to how people receive those boundaries. So setting the tone of the room I don't want to have to dress alternately to, and I always dress appropriate to my environments, but I don't want to have to think. Same thing with, sorry,
Jenna Redkey.
Yes, Jenna, I can relate to that. I want to be able to go to events and dress how I want, or be in male dominated spaces where, certain things don't come up. Like I've been in meetings where, people do fake meetings and they waste my time like that. And it's happened quite a bit where I'm like, okay, you know what? I can't change the dynamic of how people receive me because someone's going to be how they are. But what I can do is set my boundaries to teach them that there are people that are going to come along and have these higher standards, and you can't cross the line because if anything, I'll make you feel uncomfortable. Right.
Right.
So I think setting the tone like that, I've been able to do it in still a professional manner, to be like, can we not talk about that? Or, the consulting fee is right here and that's what it should be.
Right.
Or this could be a FaceTime call or phone call instead of an in-person meeting. So there's been quite a few adjustments, and I'm learning along the way too.
Of course. What, because I feel like you are doing a great job of building here. You're also positioning yourself to be in a position of leadership as a woman. As being able to speak to other women who might possibly be taking an entrepreneurship, venture, which for anybody is hard. But like, what kind of advice would you give to another woman?
Oh my God, so much along the way, so many lessons. I would say the most important thing is, specifically for women, don't take away your woman essence. A lot of the times I feel like in the work environment, we have to step into our masculine energy. And that's happened to me too, where we get a little too strict. There's been times in meetings, because I want to set the tone, I'm just like coming in like a Rottweiler and I'm just like not even asking people how they are, or, doing those little small talks that are very natural in those work environments because I want to be strict and whatever. But our women essence is the magic in a workplace. A lot of the time, women are the ones that turn a house into a home. We are the ones setting lighting candles up so it smells nice, the unnecessary little details that make things warm and what it is. When we convert that into a workspace, it's magic. A lot of these spaces that we see all across all verticals in different industries, a lot of women are getting hired. And I think it's because it's our attention to detail. We're natural nurturers. So not taking away your woman essence because you're in a male-dominated space, and staying true to your authentic personalities while still maintaining boundaries. I think that happy medium is probably the biggest lesson I've learned in life and has brought me along, what am I trying to say?
Longevity,
yes.
Yeah. I also think on that same note about just being authentic to whoever you are as a woman too. We actually had a great conversation where you were telling me about a post that you put up that did very well for women, and you were coaching women to also not go into a meeting and high pitch their voice.
Yes.
You're like, you know what? It's also, if your voice is, deeper or whatever, just use your voice.
Because I realized I was doing that early in the game. I would realize that I would go into meetings and I'm like, hi. And a lot of us women do that. And because I had made an Instagram story and I posted that's a few things that I do in meetings, I just keep authentic down to my voice, like my tone. I was doing that whole fake high pitch, like, hi, how are you? Yeah, my name's Tahmina. And that would exhaust me. And I would realize it because I'm putting on a character. People like you for who you are, and you want the people that like you. The people that gravitate towards you are going to be the easiest clients to work with because they actually are seeing the extension of you and they believe and trust in who you are. And if you're not showing up as your full self in these spaces, you're doing yourself a disservice.
I think that being a woman in today's day and age, I talk to my wife about this all the time. She tells me, she's been in entertainment as long as I have. We've been doing it for a long time. And she shares with me, I think she's in her circle, she's respected in whatever it is she does. But still she faces certain things as a woman that I know that if I walked into the room, I wouldn't face those things, right? What can you do in a position of leadership now? And what can women do to start shifting the narrative and start shifting the energy around, I guess, these norms,
Yeah.
you know, that we all know shouldn't be norms? How can women shift these?
I think a tangible, actionable item to approach this would be know when to clock out. If I feel uncomfortable in an environment, I'm not sitting there. I'm not sitting in the discomfort for too long. And I'm okay with letting you know that I feel uncomfortable and making it awkward in the room as I exit, to know that something was shifted. And it doesn't have to be loud. You know, it doesn't need to be aggressive. It doesn't need to be, again, it could just be a soft exit to be like, hi, thank you again for, allowing me to come to this space. I actually thought that we're going to be doing this, and this was what the standards would be. And now I feel like the energy of the room has shifted, address it and exit. I think a lot of the times we allow ourselves to sit in discomfort or have to sit there and prove to people that are not looking to even see if they want to accept that reality, right? Confronting people in real time is a very harsh thing to do. It's not allowing the other person to be able to really have the time and space to receive that information for longevity, to actually make that shift. So being able to kind of illustrate the problem and then reapproach it at another time, but you don't stay in those environments, don't be anywhere that breeds those negative dialogues or adds to the script.
That's great advice. I think even as a man, I'm like listening to that, I'm like, that's just great advice for anybody. Like, don't put up with something that you're just not comfortable with.
Exactly.
Right? But for women specifically, I also think that men need to step up. We need to be allies to women.
Of course.
When we identify that there's something incorrect. And I think that like a lot of men don't necessarily do that. And sometimes it's from a place of wanting to maintain dominance. Sometimes it's a place of just like needing to be more educated, right? But sometimes it's also from a place of maybe not having like a connection to a woman that you really love and knowing that they're battling something, right?
That's
like,
such a great point, because I feel like also addressing that men and women are different. We do have two different realities.
Right.
You might be able to walk down the street with your AirPods on full blast and be okay. I can't do that. I have to turn around a few times to make sure no one's too close to me. And that's already happened. Scenarios have happened in LA where I've been literally followed, And so not denying what a reality is for a woman and how much we have to exhaust ourselves to protect ourselves on a daily basis in our personal world and work world. For a man to come in and just know that that's our norm, to address it with a little bit more kindness and softness, and addressing the fact that we do have two different realities in life.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. I think, again, I love my wife, and because she tells me about some of the things she goes through, as a man, knowing that perhaps I can have some influence in the industry, I try to change the way that at least I handle my business around the way that I handle the projects that I'm overseeing. But I feel like more men need to do that, because we all have women in our lives. We all have mothers, sisters, cousins, whatever, right? And to be able to put yourself in their shoes as a man, I think is like something that we don't do enough of.
Yeah, and it only takes, one of you in a group setting to make the other guys feel awkward about it as well, too. It takes one good guy in the room to be like, that's not funny,
Yeah.
Like, you really think that was funny? That wasn't, like, or relax a little bit, to tell the other man to, figure out where they should be in that space. Because, again, as women, a lot of the times in a room, we are so hyper-focused on protecting ourselves that, yes, the right thing to do on paper is to sit there and be like, everybody shut this production down. I was treated wrong. But you can't do that. You don't know what the reaction is going to be. So a lot of the times we just kind of stay quiet, stay to ourselves, go through it, and then in hindsight be like, that was traumatic, But to be able to exit in a safe space as a woman and then have the good guy in the room to be like, that was weird. Why would you do that? Or whatever it was. I think, yes, more allies, more knowing of what is going on in these industries. And I think a lot of it is getting exposed now. I think a lot of the times we are having these conversations out loud now, whereas there was a lot of shame and was kind of behind the scenes, it's good. Look at us talking about it right now.
That's right.
This is helping.
Of course. On a forward-thinking note, I would like to know what you have planned for the brand agents next. You seem to be someone who we started the conversation around reinvention. So I feel like the brand agents and Espresso Events is only the beginning of kind of like what you have planned and what you're rolling out. Without giving me too much, without letting out too much, can you tell me at least in terms of like how are you starting to plan for the next phase of the brand agents?
I love that. Thank you. I've been thinking about this a lot, and I'm happy to share it. I'm going to really position the brand agents and shift it into a hospitality group space, because I believe that the multifaceted layers of branding and the activations, I really enjoy the event space. I really thrive in it. I've been doing it for the past 8 years, but nobody knows about it. It's just because obviously in LA, I'm a little bit more louder, and I'm really building out these event series now. And I have another one that I'm working on currently to specifically hone in with producers and artists.
Cool.
For kind of like listening parties along that side, and pairing up with a few of the bigger sponsors. But I'm really looking to shift into the hospitality group space.
That's amazing. I mean, you're already killing it with all the things you've been doing, like in order. So I can imagine if you're jumping into that space, you're going to do it the brand agent's way, Tahmina way, and you're going to crush it.
Thank you.
So I'm excited for that. Let's end on a lighthearted note. I love food, maybe too much sometimes, and I like to ask people, from all different backgrounds. Like, I had my Guatemalan homie in here, and he was telling me where to get Guatemalan food. I would love to know, in LA, is there a spot for Pakistani food that you recommend?
I'm only 4 months into moving here. I haven't found it yet. Whenever I crave my mom's food, I take a flight back home and eat at her house. But I can tell you about a Pakistani dish that I love.
Tell me about the dish.
Okay, it's called biryani.
Okay.
And it is one of have you ever had it
before?
Of course. That's how I know you're from Toronto.
Yeah, of course.
So it's basically a one pot situation where they make like chicken, potatoes, and it's a curry. And then they have like another layer of just rice. And then at the end of it, when it's all cooked, they mix it in with each other. So it's like this spicy seasoned chicken potato situation that I love.
I might beat you to finding this Pakistani restaurant.
Listen, I will follow your lead because do it for me. I need to figure out where the best biryani in LA is.
We'll find it. We'll go together. We'll make some content while we're there. I want to end on a note of, asking you about Grayscale. You know what this is about, right? And living and being in the gray area, I think, is a concept that I just find interesting because it goes against mainstream, right? When you think of, the Grayscale, or you think about being in the gray area, you could answer professionally or even just personally. What does that mean to you?
Oh my God, that's such a cool. I couldn't have thought of a better name for the series. I mean, sorry, you couldn't have thought of, I'm like, I couldn't. You couldn't have thought of a better name for the series. I think it's so cool, and it's such a cool name because everyone's gonna have a different perspective of it. So I really love it.
Thank you.
For me, the gray zone, a lot of the times is associated with almost like a negative connotation, like you're lost and confused. But for me, the gray zone is explorative. It's the unknown. It's like space to play, being curious. And that's something that I genuinely have been repeating to myself, that I'm like, I finally get to play at work. I finally have the grounds to do whatever I want. There was an event that I just ran recently for Manish Boy for their launch. I brought a horse, a real life horse, into the actual building itself. And that was just a random idea I had spat out during the meeting. And we made it happen because you can, because the world is for you to play. And I think the gray zone kind of reminds me of that playground.
That was a great answer. That was awesome. That inspired me again. I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to go get a horse and bring a horse in here.
Hey, you thought of the name. That's so cool. You inspired the thought.
Tahmina, thank you so much. This was dope.
Thank you.
And I wish you all the success with the brand agents and everything you have
Same
coming
with you.
up.
You're killing it. It's so cool to have more Toronto people. We need to take over LA a little bit more.
We really do.